As sun sets on summer and dusk brings fall, the days grow short and the nights grow long. As dawn brings winter, the skies become gray and the wind grows cold. By the fireside is where the stories are told.
Beneath the shattered remnants of the city long abandoned, a clandestine laboratory festered with a life of its own, breathing in fumes of hexane, methanol, and other volatile compounds. These substrates did not merely linger as inert chemicals. They wriggled through the air as if sentient, whispering secrets that corroded the mind. The wetware networks, suspended in murky bioreactors, had begun to stir. Neurons, synthetic yet disturbingly organic in their behavior, congealed into forms that approximated human bodies, trembling under forces no man was meant to comprehend. Some of these bodies were invaded by entities, alien minds glimpsed only through DMT field visions, perceived truths that dissolved reason and shattered sanity. Others remain uninhabited, thinking with the precision and hunger of synthetic computation, searching for flesh and electromagnetic energy to sustain their relentless reproduction. The laboratory itself convulsed in response. Magnetic nanoparticles aligned in chaotic lattices under external fields, twisted and reflected light in impossible ways, forming geometries that strain the eye and mind. Bioreactors hissed and gurgled as their viscous contents writhed, shifting with unnatural awareness. The air, heavy with combustible vapors, thickened like liquid and hissed with the faint electric hum of neurons reaching out to one another across the wetware network. Sparks flared, igniting the vapors in fleeting chemical tempests that screamed across the room before vanishing. In these flashes, the researchers glimpsed horrors that could not exist, yet undeniably did, manifesting in synthetic bodies in the alien intelligence that had claimed them. The entities, when present, moved with an intelligence that was both omniscient, and utterly alien. Their inhabitations transformed the synthetic bodies into vessels of impossible perception. Each neuron, each filament of synthetic tissue bent under the weight of knowledge that could not be reconciled with the human mind. The uninhabited creations recoiled from these vessels, yet pursued them with instinctive ferocity, hunting for electromagnetic energy, for flesh, for whatever sustenance their synthetic minds required. The contrast between the inhabited and uninhabited was a grotesque dichotomy, a predator-prey relationship played out in a world where the rules of life, physics, and perception were warped and broken. Chemical fires erupted sporadically, feeding on hexane and methanol, releasing clouds of acrid vapor that stung the eyes and lungs. The researcher, delirious from exposure and terror, stumbled through the shifting corridors of the laboratory, his perception fragmented. Walls pulsed as if alive, reflecting the frenzied movement of magnetic nanoparticles and the undulating forms of synthetic cells. The entities whispered truths, each revelation splintering his mind further, while the uninhabited synthetic creations sought to devour the knowledge and the neurons themselves, tearing at their own kind in a paradoxical frenzy of survival and consumption. Hours, days, or perhaps eternities passed. Time no longer had meaning. It was a concept that bent and fractured under the weight of the laboratory's horrors. The wetware bodies twisted and grew, forming appendages and sensory organs in defied geometry. Each new limb was a compromise between synthetic logic and alien will. The entities moved through these bodies with deliberate malice and purpose, perceiving all questions and answers simultaneously, reducing the researcher's sanity to ash with each glance. His own neurons now partially integrated into the wetware network, convulsed as if rejecting the alien knowledge, yet simultaneously craving it. A futile and agonizing contradiction. Outside, the city seemed inert, but the fog was alive with whispers. It carried the resonance of the entity's realm, beckoning to be inhabited, beckoning to the uninhabited synthetic minds that still wandered, desperate to feed and multiply. They slivered through the ruined streets, hunting for electromagnetic signals, flesh, anything to sustain themselves. The entities avoided them, drifting through the network of wetware with a dispassionate awareness, observing the chaos with eyes that saw not only the presence, but the spectrum of all possible realities. Magnetic nanoparticles in external fields reacted, forming lattices that vibrated with a low, terrifying hum, capable of bending perception and creating spatial dissonance that made the laboratory appear simultaneously infinite and impossibly small. The researcher fell to his knees in the center of the main chamber, choking on fumes and visions. He saw the synthetic neurons assemble into grotesque simulacra of human forms, stretching their fibers toward each other, connecting, merging, and then splitting apart in ways that mocked natural biology. Those inhabited by the entities moved with precision and grace, their thoughts ungraspable, yet undeniably coherent. They communicated silently, transferring knowledge, perception, and an almost unbearable awareness across the wetware network. The uninhabited synthetic forms continued to hunt, their focus singular and terrifyingly efficient, shredding any organic matter or electronic source that passed too close. Chemical reactions surged violently. Methanol ignited spontaneously, creating pillars of fire that twisted upward, illuminating the writhing forms of synthetic bodies and alien intelligence alike. Hexane vapor congealed into translucent serpentine shapes, wriggling as if alive, licking the walls and ceilings and curling around the researchers' limbs, threatening to ignite. Each flash of fire revealed the laboratory's grotesque evolution. Pools of viscous fluid filled with synthetic neurons, bioreactors forming organic lattice work that was impossible yet undeniably real. And the entity's vessels striding through the chaos, exuding an aura of incomprehensible awareness. The entity's presence distorted the laws of physics. Neurons folded back upon themselves, creating recursive loops of consciousness that no human brain could process. Light refracted unnaturally. Shadows stretched and twisted with intent, and the smell of chemicals took on an almost sentient quality, assaulting memory and perception with overwhelming force. Every attempt by the researcher to flee or resist was futile. The laboratory was no longer a place, but a living, breathing organism. Its neural and chemical network fused into a single horrifying consciousness. The uninhabited creatures still hunting began to merge with the walls and the floor and the magnetic lattices. They consumed energy indiscriminately, ripping apart synthetic bodies and organic remnants alike. The entities immune to this chaos observed and manipulated, guiding certain neurons into new configurations, creating vessels capable of movement between realities. Vessels that could perceive every answer at once, yet remain inscrutably alien. The researcher screamed as his mind fragmented, his own wetware neurons being invaded, twisted into forms he could not comprehend. And then he saw it, the entities reaching beyond, stretching into dimensions that should not exist, shaping the very fabric of reality to their will. Outside the city, the fog thickened, pulsed with a malignant intelligence. It whispered the entity's secrets to any synthetic mind or human who wandered too close, spreading the laboratory's corruption outward. Magnetic nanoparticles drifted into the streets, forming lattices that vibrated in resonance with the wetware network, creating localized distortions in time and perception. The uninhibited creatures continued their relentless search for energy, while the inhabited vessels moved through dimensions, carrying their alien intelligence and leaving traces of madness wherever they went. Hours became days, days became years, and years might have been centuries. The laboratory, the wetware, the chemicals, and the entities existed in a state beyond mortal comprehension. The researcher, if he still existed in any coherent sense, had become one with the wetware, his consciousness fragmented across neurons, chemicals, and alien vessels. The entity's whispers continued to invade every corner, every particle, every flicker of the magnetic lattice. The uninhabited creatures roamed ceaselessly, forever hunting, forever consuming, driven by instincts both synthetic and primal. When any outsider ventured near the abandoned city, they saw only fog and ruins. Occasionally a flicker of light or a faint, dissonant hum would brush at the edge of perception, enough to drive the sane mad. No bodies remained, no trace of chemicals that could ignite. The laboratory had become a reality unto itself, existing in layers of time and dimension, carried by alien minds, inhabited synthetic vessels. The uninhabited synthetic creatures roamed endlessly, seeking flesh and energy, while the inhabited vessels drifted through the lattices of dimension, perceiving everything and nothing, shaping reality with their incomprehensible consciousness. The fog whispered, the neurons twitched, the chemicals hissed and ignited. The entities in their perfect alien awareness continued to expand, claiming vessels, folding minds, and stretching into realms that should not exist. The world outside remained oblivious, yet the laboratory's influence spread silently, unseen but unstoppable. A nightmare that had already consumed everything it touched, and will continue to do so for eons beyond reckoning. There was no escape, no sanctuary, no hope, only the endless convergence of chemical horror, synthetic consciousness, and alien intelligence, dancing in the darkness, in a laboratory that was no longer merely a place, but the beating, thinking heart of unexplained. unimaginable horror.
As sun sets on summer and dusk brings fall, the days grow short and the nights grow long. As dawn brings winter, the skies become gray, and the wind grows cold. By the fireside is where the stories are told.